Hello, American patriots, and welcome to another episode of the Ducote Show. I am very blessed that you're here. You had many places you could be tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever, ever grateful. Hope that you will bear with me for tonight's show. I've been feeling a little under the weather in the past 24 hours. Hopefully, it's nothing more than just a slight cold coming on, although we do have, once again, more family members that have tested positive for COVID-19. One of those, the latest, is one of my brother-in-laws, who's actually a doctor. And so my thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family for a quick and speedy recovery. He's been treating COVID patients since the beginning on ICU. And now he's got the disease itself. And hopefully, like I say, everything will be well and he will have a speedy recovery. Before we get into tonight's show, there's a few other things I'd like to discuss with you. One, special thank you to everyone that has gone over and signed up at our website at DouglasDucote.com. We are pushing right now close to 50,000 people have signed up with their email address for our free newsletter. Not only that, but at the Douglas Ducote Show or at the Douglas Ducote website, you can get free merchandise like this, the Douglas Ducote Show shirt. There are other type Patriot gear that's available there. With Christmas coming right around the corner, be a great Christmas gift for your loved ones and help support our show. There's also a donation link there if you feel so and you're able to donate to help promote what we're doing. A little bit of sad news I'd like to share with you before we get into tonight's show. Many of you may have heard about the police officer in West Virginia that was ambushed last few days. And, well, she's been taken off of life support and she has passed away. She was shot in the face on Tuesday while responding to a traffic complaint, and she died this evening. She is Charleston police officer Cassie Johnson. She was 28 years old. And she was removed off of life support yesterday after it was determined that she was not expected to recover from her wounds. Her organs will be donated. So our thoughts and prayers go out to her family and to all of those in the law enforcement community that risk their lives every single second of their shift to help protect us and to serve their communities. Sadly, very, very sadly, our men and women in law enforcement do not get the credit they deserve because of people like Colin Kaepernick and Black Lives Matter and Antifa, who spin this false narrative that all law enforcement are racist bigots that are out to shoot and kill innocent young black youth. All of which has absolutely no merit, and it's disgraceful. What should happen, in my personal opinion, is anyone who goes out and spins a false narrative that endangers the lives of others, much less law enforcement, they should be charged. They should be held accountable for their actions. And that goes to members of Congress as well, such as AOC and Alihan Omar and Rashid Tlaib, just to name a few of some very disturbed individuals who find it okay to do what they do and say what they say. Well, it's not. Tonight's show is we're going to discuss what is currently happening today and the past 24 hours in regards to the election. And I'd like to start off with what's happening right now in the state of Nevada. President Donald Trump's campaign said the team is preparing to file a lawsuit alleging 40,000 people voted twice in Nevada, which, if true, could potentially erase Democrat presidential candidate Joe Biden's lead. Trump attorney Jesse Bernal said that they found evidence of real voter fraud, including thousands and thousands of incidences in Nevada that will be submitted to a court in the Silver State. There are instances of 40,000 plus people who have voted twice in this election. He did not go into providing the source or the whistleblower information. He said this will be presented in court and the evidence will be laid out. Bunnell, who helped defend retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, also said that some people who said they were recorded as having voted via mail never received ballots and told the Trump team that they did not vote, although, according to Nevada, they did. A data scientist that's been hired by the Trump team, Dorothy Morgan, said there was an unbelievable jump in voter registrations with unusual addresses and incomplete information. In an affidavit, Morgan said she spotted a historical change increased in voter registrations, missing the sex and age of the voter, as well as cards that had an address of RV parks and casinos. This investigation found that over 13,000 voters whose vote registration information revealed no sex or date of birth. Not only does this mean we cannot verify whether these voters are old enough to vote, it also, historically strange, while one does not expect voter registration information to be perfect, it is very strange that there are very, very few of these kinds of imperfect records with missing or invalid information until this year, 2020, when there are 13,372 of them, she told the Washington Examiner. 13,372 that cannot be verified if they're of legal age to vote or what the actual address is. And 40,000 plus that somehow voted twice. Things that make you go, WTF. A group at the center of the investigation to voter fraud recently opened by the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, hired contractors who were found to have forged ballot applications in 2014. So they hired a company that's already been known to participate in voter fraud. The group, the New Georgia Project, was founded by former Georgia gubernatorial candidate, guess who? Stacey Abrams, who helped register new voters. Ultimately, the 2014 investigation found no wrongdoing by the group, but did cite 14 people for forging 53 voter applications. All those cited were working as independent contractors, according to the Atlantic Journal-Constitution. Now, look, I've been saying for quite some time, and this is for those of you who have been following me, this is nothing new. Why are Democrats held to a different standard than Republicans are? So I'm going to repeat that just in case you missed it. Ultimately, the 2014 investigation found no wrongdoing by the group, but did cite 14 people for forging 53 voter applications. They would be in prison right now if they were Republican. Let's just be honest about it. We've seen how that goes. On Wednesday, Raffensperger announced an investigation to several progressive organizations he alleged sought to register ineligible out-of-state or deceased voters for the January 5th Senate runoff elections, which are right around the corner. Among those named are Vote Forward, the New Georgia Project, Operation Voter Registration Georgia, and America Votes. I have issued clear warnings several times to groups and individuals working to undermine the integrity of elections in Georgia through false and fraudulent registrations. The security of Georgia's elections is of the utmost importance. We have received specific evidence that these groups have solicited voter registrations from ineligible individuals who have either died or lived out of the state. I will investigate these claims thoroughly and take action against anyone attempting to undermine our elections. Well, let's see. We'll be watching you. We'll be waiting, and we'll see if you will actually follow up with that. The New Georgia Project, which was led by Democrat Senate candidate Raphael Warnock until February, is accused by Ravensburg of several election violations. Almost all of them involve sending voter registration or absentee application by mail to people that were either deceased or ineligible to vote. The progressive nonprofit was founded in 2013 and works to build the progressive voting bloc in Georgia largely by registering young people to vote. In the 2018 election cycle, the New Georgia Project reported $96,000 in payments, with 2 payments worth a total of $35,000 going to the Working Families Party. Now, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and take a guess at where that money came from. George Soros, maybe the Clintons. Vote Forward is a nonprofit founded by Scott Foreman in 2017. The progressive group focuses on sending handwritten letters, employing people to vote. According to Open Secrets, a campaign finance database, the organization had no filings for 2020 and just raised over $50,000 in 2018. Foreman, like many of the medium, had made several inflammatory tweets about President Trump and his supporters. Go figure. He insulted the president and called him a would-be dictator and called his supporters deplorable. Ravensburg alleged that voter fraud sent a letter to a deceased person encouraging them to vote. Well, I guess I'm a deplorable, and so are many of you, according to this idiot. American Votes is a much larger operation conducting voter education and mobilization efforts in 20 states. In his announcement, Ravensburg accused the progressive nonprofit of sending 2 absentee ballot applications in 1 week to an old address of a Georgia voter. During the 2020 election cycle, according to the campaign finance data, the nonprofit amassed more than $15 million in donations. The group dispersed the money to a number of progressive political action committees. The announcement comes about a month before 2 critical runoff Senate elections in Georgia, the results of which will determine the partisan balance of power in our United States Congress. Yeah. So, on the subject of corruption, you all remember the corrupt FBI Director, James Comey. You all have heard me talk about the reasons and evidence that should have him in prison, although he's not, and probably never will be, once again, because Lady Justice Blindfold is not owned when it comes to Democrats or Republicans. Former FBI Director James Comey, are you ready for this, folks? Will teach a course starting this January at Columbia Law School in New York, where he will work alongside Daniel Richman. Now, Daniel Richman sounds familiar, doesn't it? Think back, folks. He's the professor who provided Comey's private memos detailing his conversation with President Trump to the press in 2017. And neither him or Comey are in jail or have ever been charged with a crime. Comey joined for the spring semester as a leader in residence for Columbia's Reuben Mark Initiative for Organizational Character and Leadership. The former law enforcement official will serve as a senior research scholar and teacher in a seminar called Lawyers and Leaders. Comey's experience represents a broadening of the Mark Initiative focus to include leadership of major public institutions, complementing existing offerings related to the corporation and law firms, the school said in a press conference. The the ex-FBI chief tweeted that he was very excited to return to teaching at Columbia. Comey briefly taught at the school in 2013 prior to his appointment as the FBI director under the Obama administration. Comey was the FBI director from 2013 until 2017, when he was abruptly fired by President Trump. At the time, the Comey-led agency was investigating whether members of the Trump campaign had improper contacts with Russia. So let's put that in context. No, we were doing a coup attempt to get this man out of office because, that's what we do. We're Democrats. After his firing, Comey testified before the Senate committee, which he lied his ass off, and we all watched that. He was asked, after his firing, Comey testified before the Senate committee that he had asked a good friend of mine, who is a professor at Columbia Law School, to leak private memos that detailed his conversation with Trump to the press. Richmond, a longtime professor at Columbia, later confirmed that he was the friend Comey had mentioned. Comey released the book on his experiences in government entitled A Higher Loyalty, Truth, Lies, and Leadership in 2018. His second book is due to be released in January of 2021. And I hope there is a third book entitled How I'm Being Treated as a Butt Buddy in Prison, because that's where that son of a bitch needs to be. Lock the hell up. Not teaching at Columbia Law School. Are you freaking kidding me? You know, things that are happening in 2020, God, I hope that changes in 2021, because you couldn't make this shit up if you tried. It just keeps getting more and more every day beyond the realm of just common damn sense. Things that are happening in this year, I don't know. So Joe Biden, as you all know, is just moving full speed ahead to be your next president here real shortly. He's pretty damn convinced that he will be voted in office, not voted in office, will be elected in the office, and that he will swear in. And he has all kinds of plans. Hopefully all of those will be for no good, because Trump will have the courts, the Supreme Court, overrule some of these states that we've exposed the voter fraud and give those states where they delightfully belong, which is with our president. President-elect Joe Biden's top pick for the Department of Health and Human Services have both declared, are you ready for this? Gun violence, a public health issue in the past, much to the error of gun rights activists and the National Rifle Association. Vicki Murphy, a former appointee to HHS under the Obama administration, has long accused politicians of being afraid of the NRA and playing politics with gun control efforts, particularly after the deadly shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School, where 26 people, including 20 children, were killed by a gunman. Not the gun. They were killed by a gunman who pulled the trigger on a gun, which made it fire and kill people. Guns are a healthcare issue, she said in a resurfaced tweet, which put him at odds with Republicans and the NRA officials when he was tapped for the post of U.S. Surgeon General under former President Barack Obama in 2014. He was later asked to resign from his position under President Trump. Another top contender for Biden's HHS post, Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo, has long advocated for a ban on assault weapons and guns in schools, much to the dismay of the NRA. Guns in schools. As if, that's just allowed. Yeah, everybody can bring a gun to school. Oh, but you shouldn't. It is unacceptable that our children are growing up in a country where they have to worry about gun violence. This is one of the most disturbing and preventable public health crises of this generation. and we owe it to our children to take action, she said last year after signing a gun reform bill. On the campaign trail, Biden promised to introduce sweeping gun control legislation to add significant amounts of regulation and oversight on guns, with the addition of smart guns at the center of his policy aimed at reducing firearm violence in America. Smart guns. Maybe those are the type guns that if you pull the trigger and realize you made a mistake, you can say, mistake, and the bullet will go a different direction. I don't know what the hell that fucking means, nor am I going to attempt to find it out, but I know that it's stupid. I know that once again, we have somebody that's going to try and bring forward to you that guns are the problem. You know, I can sit here all day and look at this. It's never, ever going to fire itself. It doesn't have that technology or the intelligence to do it. If I pull the trigger and it has a bullet in it, then and only then will it fire. So if I'm using it and pulling the trigger at somebody attempting to do harm to me or my family, it's all good and safe and protected under the Constitution. But if I use it to do evil things to people that are innocent, then it's a mental health issue. Because this gun isn't going to go randomly start shooting people. But you can't get that through the freaking pea brains of these Democrats and liberals that want to shove shit down your throat that doesn't add up. Speaking of idiots, President-elect Joe Biden intends to keep FBI Director Christopher Wray in his post leading the Bureau during his administration. Wray was less than 7 years left in his 10-year term as director. He began in August of 2017, but President Trump, who has had a continuous relationship with Wray throughout his tenure at the FBI, should still fire him at any point before he leaves office January 20th if he isn't reelected president. Well, you know, how many times have I called for Trump to get rid of that piece of garbage? How many times have I done videos about the FBI directors and the leadership of the FBI and the leadership of the Department of Justice? You know, I communicate often with my brothers and sisters that I used to serve with when I was in law enforcement. And some that are still there, some that I actually went to the academy with that are still in law enforcement, many that are retired, and we all look at what's happening at the Department of Justice and the FBI, the leadership, not the men and women out there on the street just doing their job, but the leadership. And we can't help but wonder what in the fuck is going on and how is it allowed to continue to keep happening, no matter what Congress controls or who is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Two senior White House officials told Fox News in October that Trump was considering removing Wray from his post should he win re-election. Advisors have constantly told POTUS to wait until after the election if he wants to replace the director. No, the director needs to go a long time ago. That same official forecasted that Defense Secretary Mark Esper could also be removed from his post. The president fired Esper on Twitter last month and replaced him with acting Defense Secretary Christopher C. Miller, who formerly served as director for the National Counterterrorism Center. Meanwhile, in October, the FBI Agents Association sent a letter to Biden and to Trump in support of Wray continuing his term. And before I read that, let me repeat. The FBI Agents Association sent a letter to Biden and to Trump in support of the FBI director. Collectively, our members strongly support Director Wray continuing his 10-year term, the association wrote. FBI special agents respect Director Wray's leadership and look forward to continuing to work with him to protect this great country from national security and criminal threats. The association also defended Wray, saying he operates independently from partisan activities and warned that any changes to Bureau leadership could pose a risk to national security. Now, let me assure you, because I have friends that are FBI agents, that's a bullshit statement. There's nobody in the rank and file of the FBI that wants this son of a bitch to stay in power. Maybe, I give it to you, maybe a handful, maybe 10 out of thousands. Maybe the leadership itself. But to say he's representing all FBI agents with this statement is absolutely bullshit. It's not true. Things that make you go, WTF. Here we are. We are approaching the Christmas holidays. And in my 58 years on this planet, soon to be 59 years come April, I believe in my time on Earth that the United States of America, although has seen many, many ups and downs and horrible, horrible days, have never, ever witnessed what we're seeing happen right now. Regardless if it's the election, if it's the COVID-19, the Antifa, the Black Lives Matter, the multi-millionaire NFL players and members of Hollywood that support taking a knee over false narratives. This year, for me, has been an eye-opener. I hope it has for you as well. I will tell you that as someone who served this country with honor in the military and in law enforcement, that I take it personally. I probably shouldn't. It's probably my biggest downfall in life, is I take what's happening under the direction and leadership of Democrats and liberals that have infiltrated everything from our school system to our Department of Justice, not to mention Congress. It's absolutely evil what they've managed to pull off and continue to do so. The Supreme Court will very soon, before December 24th, will have in front of it all of the evidence of voter fraud that at least took place in these swing states. If you were to look at the entire election of all the states, God knows what you would find. But we have enough people that had come forward that were physically there at the different poll stations and watched with their own eyes and heard with their own ears massive voter fraud. And let's hope and pray that the Supreme Court will do the right thing. Hell, at this point in the game, I wouldn't care if we just redid the election, although the chances of that happening are slim to absolutely zero. But we could, or they could, reverse, or at least, if not reverse, the decisions of the Electoral College in the swing states. Make them take it to Congress, to the House, and have them make the selection based off of what the Constitution says, which is the votes per state. And they are, in our case, Republican run. We have the leadership in those swing states to make this happen. But hopefully it won't even have to get to that. Now, if what ends up in front of the Supreme Court does not show the evidence that the Trump team says it does, and that what we have been told it does, we're at a crossroads. We're pretty much done with it. And the president has even said that himself, that he would, at that point, step away and possibly run again in 2024. Which, if he does, that means that I won't run in 2024. For those of you that were wondering. My friends, we got to really think forward. You know, I've said, as we were moving up to this election, 2020 and beyond, well, we've got to move forward to take back this country. And that even includes what we've been through in the past 4 years, because sadly, we didn't have the country. Sadly, because of all the things that President Trump had to deal with and is still continuing to deal with. From the Democrats, from the left, from CNN, from MSNBC, now Fox News, that he hasn't been able to fulfill all of his campaign promises. We still have a wall that's not finished on the southern border. It probably would have been had it not been for all the absolute bogus bullshit that Trump has had to receive. It's been thrown at him to try and destroy him and his presidency. Active coup attempts by members of Congress and the FBI and the Department of Justice working to overthrow him. Even during the 2016 election run-up, as they realized there's a good possibility this man's going to beat Hillary Clinton. And members of the FBI got together with members of the Department of Justice to determine what can we do as an insurance policy to make sure this man, if he does become the president, doesn't last more than a few days. That was their plan. We know that. We've heard them testify in front of Congress. We've seen the text messages. We've seen the emails. We've heard all the testimony that's taken place. And not a single one of them has been held accountable. The Democrats will go to the lowest of the low. They will stoop to anything they possibly can to maintain power, because it's the only way they can take all of this corruption we've witnessed for the past 4 years and push it under the rug where it will stay forever. No one will ever be charged with any of what you've witnessed happen for the past 4 years if Joe Biden becomes the next president of the United States. It will be done. Stick a fork in it. And we'll be hell-bent on becoming a socialist nation. where we will, or they will, do everything in their power to see to it that America's standing is equal to or less than the rest of the countries on God's earth. And that, sadly, is a fact. Folks, you had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here. And for that, I thank you. Please share this video, like the video. Please go over to DouglasDucote.com and sign up with your email address for our free newsletter. Check out the Patriot Shop. Christmas is right around the corner. There's shirts like this, The Douglas Ducote Show, where you can show your support and piss off your liberal friends because they don't like me or the show or anything else that I do at DouglasDucote.com. And there's other type shirts there. You can get the shirt that says American Patriot by the Grace of God. If you're one of my subscribers, you really need that shirt because that's what you are, an American patriot. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, our president, and our country. God bless each and every one of you. Hope you have a wonderful weekend coming up. And I'll see you next Tuesday for another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. You can follow me on Parler, on MeWe, and Wimkin, and Instagram. I'm banned for life on Twitter, and I've been banned for life now on Facebook. Thank you. Take care, everyone, and I'll be seeing you real soon.